Lots of silicon, rocks that can think.
Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me as always are my colleagues, Galax and Pettyfan. Let us get to the news, such as it is. Galax, why don't you start us off this week?
Nothing too much special here. Let's see. The local town festival thing is this weekend, but I don't have any particularly big plans for it. Though this is the first time it's on again after 2 years of we don't want people catching the plague at it. So we'll see how that goes. I am going to stop by at least a little bit. I don't know if I'll actually be able to hang out with my friends like I used to. Some of them obviously can't come, and some of them have moved further away, so we'll see how that goes. I'll report back. Got a haircut, which is good because it's been hot. Got an oil change, and realized afterwards that I also need a headlight replaced, because isn't that just the way? I mean, I'm glad they didn't try to upsell me while it was there, but if they had, I would have said, yeah, please just fix that too. It'll take like 30 seconds. I think that's all for personal life things. Air conditioner is still broken at work, but I'm surviving thanks to strategic light off and fan usage.
Right.
Video game wise, I was seized with the Metroidvania bug and decided to play through Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth on Steam. Was pretty good, short for a Metroidvania, and like there wasn't a whole ton of ways to extend it. Aside from replays and beating the final boss with no hits to get the last sword. Has a couple of things that bother me though, such as you can't reorder your inventory. It's strictly in order you get it, and you don't have an items inventory. They just go in your skills, and it's tricky to figure out how many of some things you have that aren't actively usable. But overall, I think it was pretty good. And I think that's about all I've got. Mac has decided after a run that was going pretty well and then just got completely screwed at the last minute that we're going to take some time off from G Generation Zero and play a Macross game that he says he beat as a child and therefore theoretically knows how to.
Oh boy.
See, I keep saying that if he could, like, scan or take pictures of the manual, I might be able to figure some things out. But also, I think there are just some parts of the strategy that I'm not understanding.
Possible.
Because the last few stages have had basically, in the second half of the mission, that you, I think, only get the plot-relevant characters for, who aren't yours. There's also a secondary thing where an enemy ship is flying through the sky and will drop down on the extraneous player base and start attacking it. And you have to beat that too, like, after you take care of the other main thing. And I don't get that. So unless there's an ability to deploy your own dudes, which we have tried and failed at multiple times, Not sure what's up. But hopefully the Macross game goes a little smoother.
Yep. All
And I
right.
think that's it.
Petty, you're up.
Alrighty. Well, went to that Digimon case tournament on Saturday and took second. So yay!
Was there a prize?
Yeah. I got over a box and a half of the EX2 set.
Right.
So
Cool, that got snapped up real quick at my local store. I bought one box and was going to get another, but they didn't have any more.
yeah. Pricing it out, it was almost like $150 worth of cards. Well, at least packs. So,
Jeez.
yay.
Might be more or less if you actually open them, depending on what's in.
I did open them. I did get a Gallopmon Crimson mode, which at time of recording was enough to pay for my entry fee on its own.
Cool.
Yeah. Looks like your next Digimon tournament's not this week, but next week.
Should be, yeah, unless Bandai does the old fuck you.
The pre-release, the next set comes out on the 29th, so the pre-release for that will be like sometime between.
It's usually the weekend before the main release.
Yeah, I have that noted in the show notes that we use internally, because that's we're probably shifting the reviews to Monday that week.
Yup. At least I gave you a heads up this time.
Yes. Like for the next two tournaments.
Yes, because the tournament after that is the store championship, which winner gets an invite to nationals. So, woo!
That's happening the week we come back for season 17.
Noted.
So,
as far as other gaming things, I did get Near Replicant on Steam. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and play it. Mostly because I had to order new cables for my controllers, so that's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else from you, Golix?
I already went, but I'm good.
No. Did you mean me?
Yeah, Petty. Sorry. Sorry. Everyone started talking, so I lost my place there.
Fair enough. I think I'm good.
All right. Right. So I guess it's my news. Let's see. Already been an eventful week as my new medical insurance card came in the other day. Been waiting on that. And let's see. Tried to call the local MRI place, even though what I need to get for my next cyst is a CT scan. It's called an MRI thing because all of the imaging stuff is done in one place. Anyway, called them up. They're like, "Do you have the order?" I'm like, first I looked through my medical paperwork, and then I remembered that no, I don't, because the specialist, their office, they sent the order directly to them.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and they initially called me, but I had to put this on hold because I didn't have my medical insurance card. I had been waiting for that, and now it's in. I don't know if they still have that in the system. The point is, this is an imbroglio big enough where I'm going to have to go down there and get it sorted out tomorrow.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but it's this is something that needs to get done.
I mean, it could be worse. Your doctor could be an hour drive one way.
Yeah. Well,
welcome to Missouri, motherfuckers. Everything's too fucking far apart.
I'm like, This isn't my doctor. This is the imaging place. It's a separate thing. Like, it's only a half an hour away. Like, then again, the specialist is also a half an hour away. My primary care is like 10 minutes away, which is nice. Look, welcome to Florida. There's no shortage of medical expertise down here.
Especially for whatever would ail you. It's almost
Yeah.
like a lot of old people live there.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's like that's actually one of the benefits to living in Florida, such is like. But anyway, yeah, going to have to get that straightened out, and also tomorrow I'm going to be stopping by the Vision Center, so I can put in an appointment to have an eye exam. Which once again, according to my new insurance, I am covered for one free eye exam, and I've got the this is why you take an eye exam, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to need new glasses. Like, honestly, these glasses, while much better than the old one, where, a lot of shit was almost unreadable. Like, I almost failed the vision test on renewing my license. Is that bad? Yeah. The new ones have been fine, but there was always the sense that, very small fonts and scripts are still blurry from a bit of a distance. Like, and I've been angling to get that fixed. Hopefully now I can get that fixed, because the eye strain is annoying.
Understandable.
Well, sometimes it's severe enough where vision gets a lot blurrier. So it clears up, but
well, obviously, or else we'd be talking to you from the ER, probably. I mean, am I wrong?
Either that, I don't know. I just know that if that doesn't solve the problem, I'll probably look into getting a blue light filter for glasses. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to get a clip-on, because my glasses level's always been persnickety and expensive when it comes to tinting and shit.
Yeah.
So,
like, the only reason I get like the transitions for like $1 extra on my copay is because I have cluster headaches.
Yes. Like, not that, then I guess a magnifier for my laptop. Like, if it really comes down to it. Look, I've hit a certain age, and this shit doesn't get better as you grow older. I wish it did. And also, LASIK is really fucking expensive. So, financing options start at like $200 a month. So, let's see. On top of that, it looks like I'm gonna have to take my laptop back into the shop next week. Like after the next spate of shows. Sure, because I'm having a weird problem with images. Like, they are getting corrupted seemingly randomly when I scroll them into the viewing position in the folder. And I'm not sure if this is a data transfer issue, if it's a it could be a hard drive issue, a bad memory leak, or bad memory banks or something like that. So it's a bit beyond my knowledge. So, and this thing is also under warranty. It's like 30 days, and if something happens, I can bring it out to the shop and they'll fix it for free. So, going to take advantage of that. I would keep looking at the problem, but I'm afraid of more images getting corrupted. So, just better to take it in when while it's got the warranty. And it's the hard drive, well, that's got a year warranty on it. Just, I don't know what the hard drive is that they put in this thing. So, lots of stuff been going on in my direction. Can't say a lot of it's been good, but shit happens nonetheless. So, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is, hoping I'm not going to mispronounce your name, but it's happened in the past. But Arjun Paul and Nick Hauser of Abyssal Studios.
Yeah. What is
Good.
up? Hello.
You pronounced my name correctly. I thank you.
Good. Like I said, that does not always happen, as my colleagues are very quick to point out, or the guests themselves, depending the situation. Like, anyway, so how we like to get started is we like to get to know the people behind the studio, behind the game, and so on and so forth. And we do this by asking this particular question: what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Yeah, great question. I'll start. So, for me, my dad was into video games, and he played like retro '80s games. Like he was really into Galaga and stuff like that. But by the time I was born, that time had kind of passed. But he bought me like the very first Game Boy they ever made, and he bought me Pokemon Red. He bought himself Pokemon Blue, and we like played it together. We used to play like Age of Empires together. So my dad really got me into gaming, and I have been playing video games almost nonstop since the age of like 5 or 6. And then professionally, really, it's just as simple as being a gamer myself and always playing new games, always looking for new games. I was kind of at a point in my gaming life where I was looking for something new to play, and I kind of imagined this game that we have created in my mind, and I looked for it, and it didn't exist, and I thought that I would just make it, and here we are.
Perfect. I will so I'll tell my story. Kind of different background for me. I would say growing up, my parents were pretty strict, and ironically, like, kind of didn't allow me to play games. I was like that kid at school. I never owned a console till I was like in high school. But my parents were in IT. They had like a computer company at one time, and so we had a lot of computers at home. And I kind of got started playing like CRPGs, like computer RPGs, and like MMORPGs like RuneScape. That was kind of like my first social game that I played, with kids at school, and it was just really amazing to me to just like have a way to have something where I could like play with my friends, because as a kid, you want to play with your friends all the time, and like RuneScape was the way I could play with my friends even without like being with them, obviously because it's online, and then go to the next day at school, be able to talk with them, and kind of like discuss strategies and stuff like that. It was an amazing experience, and yeah, I kind of got started just with the computer games, like RuneScape, Age of Empires. There's like so many like retro dungeon crawlers that I used to play that were just like came installed, in whatever kind of computer that we had. And yeah, similar to Nick, I have just never stopped from that point. At some point, obviously, I did get a few consoles, and I, started getting into like PlayStation and Nintendo. But I think I've been like a PC gamer, I would say, my whole life. And professionally speaking, I also, I've worked in a couple different industries, but I haven't worked in the gaming industry per se, in a formal capacity. But I have known Nick since we were in college. So it's almost been what is it, Nick? Like 8 years, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be 8 years very soon. And we were roommates, and we became best friends after that over time. And we kept in touch all these years. Nick graduated before me, but we kept in touch. I had this stint where I was living in Japan. I lived in Tokyo for almost 3 years. So kind of life took us, and I think Nick was in LA even. So life took us, kind of in different directions. But when COVID hit and all of that happened, we kind of reconnected. And Nick was the one who kind of had the original idea. You know, this game, this idea was his brainchild, and you know, we reconnected and we kind of mutually, you know, decided to really kind of go ahead, you know, full speed ahead, and that's when we founded Abyssal Studios, and yeah, the rest is history.
Okay. And I suppose the next question is exactly what is Mythic? I mean, you describe it as a roguelike MMO sort of thing.
Yeah, well, basically, we wanted to take the favorite elements of kind of our two favorite genres of games, at least maybe at that time, they were my two favorite genres of games, maybe of all time even, and just combine them into something new that we hadn't seen before. So it is similar to a lot of roguelikes in that we have a deep procedural generation. Every level you go into is going to be brand new, never seen before. We have a lot of randomization for the items you find, and death is pretty punishing, setting you back all the way to the beginning of the area you're in. And then what we combine that with is the massively multiplayer aspect, and basically just put all of the things that I just mentioned in this shared server where everyone is online together and you can interact with other people who are completing those kind of classic roguelike objectives.
Okay. So there's actually quite a lot to unpack here. When you say like permadeath or something along those lines, is there a penalty for dying? Do you lose all your equipment? Do you go down to level 1?
There's no permadeath. Basically, the way that we think of it is that we have a lot of different areas in the game, different biomes or domains, we call them. And every one of those is almost like its own self-contained roguelite, I guess is the proper technical term.
Yes.
But so once you're within one of those areas, if you die, you're going to have to do everything there again. Once you clear one of those areas, you're kind of in a new roguelite that you've now unlocked. So you're not going to have to clear the game from the beginning. You're not going to go from level 1. You're going to treat that area as kind of its own mini roguelite that you can then attempt to clear on its own.
And how is that handled collectively in the MMO sense? Like, will everyone be seeing the same procedural generation of a map, or is it like going to be individualized for a player?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we generate levels, basically, imagine the world has nothing in it. And then as soon as someone goes to a place, we say, okay, there needs to be something here. Let's procedurally generate a room. And so we generate that room. And then once it's there, it's going to kind of stick around for a while. So maybe let's say on the scale of a couple hours or an hour, if someone else goes to that room, they'll see kind of the same thing that original player had seen. Now, if no one goes to a place for a few hours or a day or more, it's going to be gone and it will be procedurally generated brand new. And I should also say that the procedural generation we have is very deep. It's not like some other games where we're kind of just showing you a random assortment of rooms. We're actually generating a brand new room that has never been seen or generated before every time someone goes to a new area.
Okay. And on the flip side of things, you've mentioned that like one of the objectives here is to complete the room, as it were. And I noticed that if you die and you complete a room, that room stays. So how does that work in the context of this roguelike MMORPG?
Yeah, so that aspect of it is more similar to other MMOs. I mean, we just have mob respawning and puzzle resetting. So when you come into the room again, it could be very similar to what you saw 5 minutes ago, but again, your progress is not maintained. So like you're probably going to have more enemies respawning, and the puzzles will be reset, and you'll have to solve them again. And then if you come back, 3 hours later for another run, or the next day even, it will be completely different.
Okay. So the room itself will stay, it's just the generation will be different.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you want to phrase it, but basically there will be a room there. It could be a completely different room.
Okay. And how large are you aiming to make a domain? Because
Yeah, a domain, first of all, it can vary, but in general, an average domain is typically going to be between, let's say, 8 and 18 rooms, just off the top of my head. So it's very similar to something you would find in another roguelike or roguelite like Hades or something, where you're going to fight your way through 10 to 15 rooms and then face a boss. That's really what we wanted to create, is like every domain feels like a self-contained roguelite.
okay. And what are the biomes that you'll be encountering in this game?
You want to take that one, Arjun?
Sure. So we have 5 biomes in mind, and what we're thinking is to start with your classic elemental ones like air, water, earth, and fire, and we threw another one in there that we're calling the order domain. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but did we design that based on like the absence of all elements, or like?
Yeah, in a way. There's
in
also
a way, right?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, because
describe it.
I think we have a couple more domains kind of in mind that we want to add in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Those
yeah.
are the ones. Those are the main ones that we know will be in the game when we launch, and then we've thought of a lot more. I think it would be really cool to have rare domains that are a lot harder to find and have more unique rewards that encourage players to really explore and look for them. And I have some ideas for what those could be. Like, I've thought maybe combinations between 2 of the main elements, or maybe like even completely random things, like something related to time, where the puzzles you have to solve are like somehow related to what you have done in the past, and like replaying that through some kind of puzzle system that I've seen in other games. But anyway, those ideas are very kind of far off and just in my mind. The 5 Arjun named are the ones that will definitely be in the full game.
Definitely. And what kind of separates each domain from the other is a number of things, but I would say the most obvious is a boss. Each of the 5 domains has its own. We've kind of hand designed the boss for it with its own attack patterns, and we also something we're kind of proud of is we have been designing a skill tree that corresponds to each biome. So currently, we're looking at 5 skill trees in Mythic, and kind of the easiest way to explain this is that the more time you spend in a domain, let's say you spend a lot of time in the water one, and you're killing a lot of water bosses, you are going to be leveling up that skill tree, the water skill tree, and it has its own skills, it has its own abilities, and so we've really tried to, it's a work in progress, but we've really tried to give players some sense of just control over the character they're building.
Okay. And do those skill trees like pertain to offensive, defensive capabilities, overall build? Like, how is all that working in this game?
Different skill trees are going to kind of focus more on different things. So like you said, some will be more geared towards defense. Some will be geared, like, for example, the fire one, the fire skill tree doesn't have many defensive abilities in it. It's a lot of like damage, crit, special effects. They're doing like burning effects or like explosive effects. So the way you want to build your character, definitely whatever your playstyle is, that's going to influence where you want to spend time, which skill trees you want to level up in. And there's each one we've tried to make have a kind of unique flavor. So none of them are really all around. It's very customized. And I should add that you can level up in multiple at the same time. Although you can only choose one primary, you know, for example, you could level up in fire and then get some points in the earth skill tree if you want some defensive abilities as well.
Will you be able to blend those in any capacity?
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool idea. It's not something we have yet, but I've thought about it a lot. And it's like one of the things I mentioned a little while ago with like the combination biomes, I thought would be a really cool way to kind of introduce that, like some abilities that are only accessible if you're kind of dual skill trees would be really cool. But we haven't worked on that yet.
Okay. And let me see here. Are there going to be any classes in this game?
I see it more as everyone starts the same and branches out and kind of becomes a class based on which skill trees they're going into. So something more like a Path of Exile type thing, although they technically have classes. But the point is, you know, everyone shares the same skill tree, and depending on where you go in it, you really become a kind of specialized class.
There's a fair amount of RPGs and RPG adjacent things that take to that approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Definitely.
And I suppose we should shift over to the MMORPG aspect, because we really haven't delved into that too much, aside from the beginning. And I suppose my first question there is, like, how many people are you looking to support in this game?
Yeah, well, we've already run some pretty extensive stress tests, and our servers can support thousands of people online at once. And they're not, you know, we can upgrade the servers as well. So I really think that there's no barrier in terms of the numbers of players. We can upgrade our servers to more powerful hardware if we're really getting thousands of people online every day. And we can even split up areas. So like if we're getting, let's say, like tens of thousands or something, we aren't set up for that right now, but we have the option of taking one server and like, okay, the starter area and the areas right around it are going to be hosted on this server. And then when you leave that, it will kind of transfer you over to another server. So I think that long term, if we get the players, however many players we get, we are set up to figure out how to support that many players. And even right now, we can support thousands of players online at once.
And will the procedural generation be scaled to that kind, you know, the population?
Yeah, well, the nice thing is that our game is kind of, the world is infinite. So the more people there are, and the further people are going, also the more people will be spreading out. So I think it's likely that you might see less and less people the further away you go, and the procedural generation will scale to support people near the middle where there are a ton of people. We have instancing if things get absolutely crazy with way too many people for any like one room to be usable or visible. We do have instancing for that, although we don't want to, like, the instancing is turned off as absolutely as much as possible because we want to show everyone. But yeah, everything should scale to any number of people, and even the boss fights and the puzzles and everything, we've worked really hard to make sure that every boss, for example, should be challenging but achievable with one person or with 20. It's really however you want to play.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because, you know, that's kind of the unsavory side of this. It's like, what happens if, you know, there's not a lot of people there for whatever reason? It's like, because I know that's a big problem with a lot of MMO type deals. You know, they're kind of made to be taken, you know, with groups.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that problem with MMOs myself because I'm always the person in my friend group who will play more hours and spend more time than you know the rest of my friends. So I'm often questing alone, even in an MMO that I play with like 10 other people. And so it was really important to us to make sure that people who play like that have a place in our game. And you absolutely can play the game alone if that's what you want to do. I mean, there's a lot more I think it's a lot more fun with a party. There's a lot of things that are really enjoyable with the party, but technically, you can do everything in the game by yourself if you want to. So, if you find the world a bit empty, I don't think that that's going to happen. But if it was the case, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. You can absolutely play the game.
All right. And speaking on the social aspects, will you be able to set up guilds or like communicate with other players? And also, will there be any PvP capabilities in this game?
You want to take that one, Arjun?
Yeah. So I would say there's a number of things that I think that are higher on our list of priorities to do as soon as we launch, and I think one of those is definitely adding kind of more social aspects like guilds, clans. Um, as for a kind of communication, kind of chat feature, to be honest, we don't have one in the game right now, but it's definitely something that I think we have pretty high on our list to add. There's obviously a number of moving parts that goes into that.
Before full launch, we will add chat.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's something that's quite high up on our list to do because, and I would say like in terms of the other social aspects, post launch, I think we also want to give people a lot more kind of customization options. We have a lot of things in mind to give people the ability to kind of express themselves. And, we've thought of different things like titles, capes, different kind of in-game rewards for the mini games we have. But I think this is one of the places where we're really looking for just like player feedback. As people play, we want to hear what they want, and kind of what would make them feel like they're able to like better just communicate or express themselves in the game. So I'm not sure if Nick mentioned this, but we have a we're launching a free prequel to our game, kind of like a prologue, I would say, tomorrow actually. Just actually exactly in 12 hours, in fact. And we're calling this game Mythic Origins, and it's basically essentially the first chapter of Mythic, so to speak, right? It's the first domain. It's a super, it's a short, tight, kind of action-packed experience that we've designed, and it will also be completely online. So it is a full MMO roguelite, and yeah, like we the reason we kind of did this was basically to give people like a taste of what Mythic will feel like, and it's free, so we hope everyone tries it out, and we're really looking forward to the kind of feedback that we receive from it. Yeah, let me know if I missed anything, Nick, but
No, I think you covered it.
I think that's kind of our plan for the social aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that would be a high prioritization since,
Absolutely.
Well, once again, it's in the name, massively multiplayer online, and people like to communicate. Granted, there's a lot of ways to do that, but the in-game chat tools are usually what everyone has access to. And let's see here. So, in regards to the Origins versus the full release, what will people not find outside of like the other domains?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, everything in the game is fully available. You just can't leave the first area. So, in Mythic, it's infinite. You can just explore as much as you want. It's procedural generation. It will generate new levels for you to explore. They'll always be unique and new. In Mythic Origins, you're limited to about 30 rooms. It's one domain, one boss, and you just can't go outside that. So it's gives you a taste of the game. Nothing is like locked to you. Nothing that you could find in that first domain is going to be unavailable. It's just that you can't go to others.
To jump onto that as well, I would like to add, like, there's, something that we do in Mythic is basically we've kind of paired like domains, basically, and exploration with a couple different game mechanics. So, for example, we have 4 crafting systems in Mythic currently, and instead of all 4 of them being kind of available in one domain, they're each kind of specific to one. So, for example, the fire biome has the forge, where you can kind of level up your weapons, and then the air biome will have the enchanter, where you can kind of add brand new enchantments to your weapons, like lifesteal, for example. And so, of course, the domains that won't be available in Mythic Origins, you won't have access to those crafting systems per se. But essentially, like Nick said, we've kind of put everything that we can in, the order domain, which is the domain that you're going to find in Origins. It's kind of like the full experience for that. So we have the order domain. We have a really cool boss fight, kind of the first boss in the game, and we have this gauntlet mini game, which has been kind of pretty popular with our fans actually so far. And even when we went to PAX, I think it was something people really like to try out. But anyways, yeah, we have that gauntlet mini game as well, with global leaderboards that are also in Mythic Origins currently.
Okay. And how long will it take a person to traverse the origins of Mythic?
I think that I think that I can do it in 20 minutes. I think the average person who's never played the game before and hasn't spent like 5,000 hours developing the game probably takes more like like maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half to kind of finish the main quest line, and you could definitely play for another probably hour and a half of content after that, just like exploring the nooks and crannies, playing the mini game, looking for like a score on leaderboards, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, the minigame definitely adds the replayability. Of course, when when our full release drops, the replayability will come from the fact that the game is infinitely procedurally generating, and we're gonna have multiple biomes there. And as soon as you clear the first biome, which is essentially Origins, like, the world opens up to you, so you can kind of go in any direction you want, and you know so that's kind of the main difference. But I think, like Nick said, a solid 1.5 to 2 hours, with potentially another hour or two, based on how much how complete they want to play the game.
Right. And is there any story or lore to the game?
There's a little bit of lore. It's pretty light because, like other Infinite games, at some point you're obviously going to get to a physical location where there's no more hand designed quests. We can only design, even if we design 1,000 quests, eventually they run out in an Infinite context. But we've designed a bunch of quests in Origins and a few more beyond it, and there's definitely some background lore that's kind of inferred or implied, or that the player it's not like explicitly given to you, but you will learn more about it as you go throughout the game, like especially about the history of the world that you're in and how everyone got here. And there is some, I would say, it's definitely not the main focus. It's not like a story driven game per se, but we have some story, we have some quests, we have some lore for you to explore.
Mm-hmm. And in what state of completion is the main game at this point, and how much longer do you think it'll be until that is ready?
Arjun, you want to take that one?
That's a really good question. I would say we're very close. There's still, it's one of those things where it's like the closer you are, the things start coming up in terms of like, oh, we need to do this, and we want to add this, and we want to add this, and we're kind of getting to that stage. And I almost think it's like a good stage when you can kind of start thinking of all these new things that you want to add, and you kind of start getting ambitious almost, because you see you see the game release on the horizon. But yeah, I would say we're frankly probably around maybe a month and a half ish out, maybe 2 months out right now. That it's not like a hard deadline, but that's the kind of timeline that we have for ourselves. So our whole goal with Origins, in fact, was to launch it kind of on the eve of our full release, um, just to make sure that first of all, Origins is the most feature complete as it can be. And so when people play it, they can really kind of get a feel of what those first few hours of Mythic will look like, and hopefully they like that experience, and they come back for more. But that was one of the reasons why we launched Origins now, so close to our full release. But yeah, we're launching in early access. I think you didn't ask about early access, but I'll just add this. One of the reasons that we wanted to launch Mythic in early access was that I think Nick and I have a lot of interesting ideas of what we can add to Mythic. And just secret, these like mystery biomes domains are just one tip of the iceberg, basically. There's a lot more that we would like to add. And something that's been pretty important to us from the beginning has been kind of like interacting with our fans, people who like the game, and hearing their feedback and seeing what we can implement from that. And early access for us is like, okay, these people, new people are going to come into our community. They're going to join the Discord. They're going to come to Steam discussions. We can hear what they say. Let's say they want to add new features or maybe like a new crafting system. We'll kind of have that room to keep updating the game to make it better. But I think again, in a month and a half ish, we should be pretty ready to release a game that we're happy with and we think is a complete game, honestly. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, a month and a half, basically. I would say that we're 90% done with the game. I mean, I've been working on it for more than 2 years. Arjun's been working on it for 2 years. I would say we're a month and a half out. We're more than 90% of the way done. And of course, once we launch, this is an MMO, so there's always work to do. We will be providing constant updates and listening to the community as we go on. But yeah, we'll be ready to launch in a month and a half.
So we haven't touched upon this aspect, but I think it's probably one of the most important, and that is pricing. Are you looking to charge money for Mythic here, or are you looking into more of a free-to-play model?
I'm really glad you asked this question because it's maybe the most important thing to me. So just to give you a direct answer to your question right away, Mythic Origins is free. Mythic is going to be between $15 and $20, and there will be no monthly subscription fee, and more importantly, there will be no gameplay affecting microtransactions ever. So our model is we charge you once. That money goes to support us to continue developing the game, and we will never make it so that you have to pay more money in order to have good items, in order to get an advantage. You pay once and you're done, which for me was really, really important as someone who has played MMOs my entire life. I've been horrified by some of the things I've seen lately in terms of I'm not going to name names, but there have been games lately where you would have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to progress into the end game, and there have been games lately where anyway, I'm not going to name names, but that's the pricing model. It costs $15, and there will never be anything beyond that that actually affects gameplay. We might sell a cape that looks cool, but it won't do anything.
I mean, that is certainly a bold pricing model for the MMORPG genre, or MMOs in general.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was just gonna say it's similar to like the Guild Wars 2 model, basically.
Right. But my question and concern is regards to like upkeep and maintenance. That's a big reason why a lot of MMORPGs traditional model used to be that pay a monthly subscription.
Mhm.
Are you concerned about those eventually, like overtaking any sort of profit, and you'll be forced to do what break your promises, basically?
Yeah, that's absolutely a great question. And I know that we have seen that happen again and again with other games. So first of all, I will say it is more. It's not like this model has never worked. Guild Wars 2 has this model and had one of the most successful MMO launches ever and is still running to this day, right? So the important thing with this model and what we have done is that you understand all your costs very well up front, and you understand how long your price can support your servers. Now, based on the numbers we're looking at right now, we can already support the servers that we're planning on providing for years. Okay. And beyond that, that's where if sales go down over time. So as sales go down and as people continue to want to play, but they've already bought the game, that's where I think non-gameplay affecting microtransactions will eventually come in to help make up the difference after, again, years down the line, once we've already planned for years ahead with our pricing model. But if we get to that point, let's say 5-10 years from now, where our revenue is no longer from direct sales, is no longer supporting our servers, I think that cosmetic microtransactions will at that point be supporting our servers. So long answer to your question, but I think it's a really important question. Basically, we can already support the servers for years, and even after that, there are avenues we can take to keep the game running for people who love it without breaking our promises.
That's good to know, because that is the kind of thing that will absolutely enrage a fan base.
I couldn't agree more.
100%. 100%.
Right then. I suppose my final question is not in regards to Mythic, but beyond Mythic, so to speak. Do you have any other ideas for games that you would like to turn into an actual thing in the future?
Yeah, we definitely do. We have a lot of ideas, and we're best friends, and we go back and forth with a lot of this stuff all the time. But we bounce back ideas between ourselves. There are some that are good, there are some that are bad, and I don't know whether we would even pursue any of them. We'd have to talk about it more, look at the market, and see is this just a crazy idea, or is it actually something that people want? But at the end of the day, for the next at least year, if not more, we're gonna just be focused on making this game the best that it could be and providing constant updates and giving players more. So the answer is yes, but that's a very long way in the future, and we try not to think about it too much because we're just really focused on what's in front of us right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I can add to that answer as well, I think from our end, again, like Nick's right, we've talked about this on and off for the past year. We bounce ideas off each other a lot. But I think our first priority right now is just to get Mythic to market, on Steam, and we already have quite a few fans actually who are you know they want to play Mythic, but they just Steam is not their platform of choice, and so I would say kind of beyond what our goals are right after launch will definitely be kind of supporting and making sure our launch on Steam is successful and is supported. But then I would say our next kind of short term, medium term goals are seeing if we can bring Mythic to to other platforms, right? To consoles. To I think the Switch would be a great console to have Mythic on.
Yeah, and we have some big content updates planned too. I mean, it's not just
100%.
ported to other consoles. We have some big content updates already, even partially done. But absolutely,
Definitely. And kind of beyond that, I would say, basically putting all our energy into the 1.0 release, right? Because we're in early access right now, but we have a lot of plans of, we haven't publicly released a roadmap, but we definitely plan to by our launch, and it's that's basically going to be our first goal is reach 1.0 release, full release on Steam, and kind of take it from there. Yeah.
All right. Right. I'll see if my colleagues here have any further questions for you.
I got a couple. Will you be able to like save seeds for like areas or dungeons and like play them offline, like say the servers are down for maintenance, or is it the game's only available when the servers are up?
Well, right now the game's only available when the servers are up. Although we have already talked about this, and I think it's a great idea. There's some tricky questions to answer with like, how would that work when you come back online? Is it fair to let people acquire loot in an environment where there's no other players to compete with them? There's some difficult questions to answer there, but I think long term, definitely there will be at least something that you can do offline. I don't know exactly what it will look like, and I don't know exactly when it will be.
Fair enough. And is there like a way to, or if you decide if there's going to be a way to like save a seed for later, like say I'm playing at one point and Golux jumps on later and like I want to show him this really cool dungeon I found, but since it's procedurally generated and if he may not be in time to catch it, is there a way to like kind of replay that area between the two of us, or?
That's actually a really cool idea that I haven't heard from anyone else before. So I think we're going to have to talk about it more.
And
but
plus one to the scope.
Definitely, I think we won't do that before release, just because our roadmap is already honestly probably too full. But
feature
after
creep
release,
is a hell of a thing,
right? I really like that idea, and I'm writing it down right now. We'll talk about how we can implement it. But I like that idea.
All right, and I think that's it from me.
All right, Golix, anything your way?
No, I'm good.
All right. So I want to thank you both for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here tonight to tell us all about Mythic. Certainly a really interesting game. Look forward to seeing how it turns out, and hopefully it will find the audience that it purports to support.
Thank you. Thank you for your time as well. We really enjoyed being here.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. So once again, the game is Mythic, with the Mythic Origins prologue release happening at the time of recording. It's about 14 hours from now on Steam. So you'll be able to download that fairly soon, and it'll be available by the time the recorded version of this goes out to like YouTube. And as far as the proper Mythic, it's currently shooting for a fall 2022 release, and you can wishlist that on Steam now. So be sure to do that. And if you enjoyed this interview, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bells and do all the things you need to do to keep abreast of when we go live next. So with that in mind, Penny Fan plays to the next segment. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion. This week we are talking about Sonic Origin. We were intending to do this last week, but that interview ran long, so it got shifted here. And Petty Fan, why don't you just start, because I'm pretty sure people are generally aware of the fact that Sonic Origins, turned another fucking Sega slam dunk into a fucking Sega shit show.
Sega, why do you hate us?
Sonic, because this shit only seems to happen to Sonic. It doesn't happen to Yakuza. It doesn't happen to anything that Sega Europe oversees. Just fucking Sonic.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Anyway.
I will say off the bat, the Switch version is probably one of the better versions of Sonic Origins to get. Because apparently the PC version has problems, because thanks to Nuvo, rotten hell to Nuvo.
Yep.
And yeah, at least it's not.
Will eventually be removed.
Oh yeah, they usually do that like a few months after launch.
Yeah. I'm just glad I have the old Sega Genesis collection ROMs and the previous version of Sonic CD.
Oh yeah, same.
Yes. Yeah, and we can't even get into what's wrong with this thing because there's so many things that are wrong with it
Yeah,
on an
like
individual
what game do
level.
you want me to start with?
Yeah. I mean, once again, this is pretty much the same thing that happened with Sonic Ultimate Color or Sonic Colors Ultimate Edition.
Uh-huh.
And for the same overarching reason as well. It's like because you fucked up when the developer gets onto Twitter and calls you out on what happened. Because Headcanon has gone on record saying they were rushed, especially with the Sonic 3 and Knuckles portion. Because keep in mind, that is the first time that's been brought to what? The Origins engine?
Yeah, something like that.
You know. And they didn't have the time to properly playtest this.
And
Their own
God,
work.
it shows.
Yes. But it's not only Sonic 3 and Knuckles that's showing up with weird physics problems.
Sonic 2's
Sonic
physics.
Sonic CD is suffering from this.
Oh my god, I was just playing a little bit of that earlier. It's like, yeah, I shouldn't bounce like that off slopes there, guys.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, because, okay, this is a really convoluted package because the actual games are being run in the Origin engine or the retro engine, but the overlay is being done in the Hedgehog engine.
Yeah, yeah, I have no idea what they were smoking for that one.
I'm like, from what I understand, it's pertaining to the new animations and shit that they got.
That's if you bought the deluxe version of the game, because fuck you, Sega. God, that's still the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard. Anyway.
Which part? Wait, which part was stupid?
The deluxe edition.
Right, but what part of it?
That the whole animations.
Oh yeah, that was pretty dumb. I think the dumbest part was that you got a bonus of coins for pre-ordering it or the deluxe edition or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
When fun fact, you know how Sonic the Hedgehog 1 has a debug mode? They left that in.
Yup.
And because it was added to the list of objects in the games, the coin item box is an item that you can spawn with a debug mode.
Yup.
So you can just spawn hundreds of coin item boxes and just get hundreds of coins.
Yup. And yeah, one big problem is also Tails' AI is dumb as a box of rocks.
Yep. Even more so than usual, because let's be honest here, he was never the smartest fox when controlled by the computer.
Yeah.
You know, granted, like if you're playing like Sonic 2, you should get rid of Tails anyway because he is a fucking load on the special stages.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose, to the Origins credit, they have completely redone the Sonic 2 half-pipe to make it actually 3D instead of the fake slideshow that they had going with the original Genesis release.
I mean, it still sucks, but
I'm like, that's neither here nor there. It's more, it looks like the thing that they were actually intending now instead of having to use the technology of the time. And it doesn't look too out of place. It's still jarring because, you've got this new modern looking half pipe and you still got the Genesis characters running over it. There's always going to be a bit of Marvel versus Capcom 2 syndrome, any number of Capcom fighters around that area. I'm
Yeah.
like, where like the backgrounds are high res, but the sprites are medium res, and boy, can't you fucking tell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, there is just a bevy of problems, and like, and yeah, the individual versions have their quirks. Now, some of it is due to hardware, like the fact that the main screen runs at 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS on the Switch. That is a problem with the Switch because it doesn't have the power to do it at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
At least this is what the Digital Foundry was saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the case on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One releases. But it's like another problem with the PC, and this is probably the nouveau, is this somehow the Sonic games themselves have become resource hogs.
Oh god, the memory leak on that's hilarious.
Yeah, because like going back to the previous Sega Genesis collection, like the actual wrapper is quite the beast itself in terms of resources.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about like the full 3D Unity VR model.
Yeah.
Granted, that version you can just select the actual ROMs, or you can put the ROMs in a different emulator. You don't have to use that package because you have access to the actual ROMs. You don't have that yet in the PC version. I'm sure that'll eventually happen if they are indeed using ROMs. No, that's right. That's the big selling point here. Sorry, I'm so used to Sega being lazy with their releases,
Mm-hmm.
and because this is actually this is a from the ground reworking of Sonic.
Yeah.
Not a
These are
not
actually
any,
been
like,
remodeled 16:9. They're not some up-res ROM or
yeah,
some hackery like that. This is straight up rebuilt.
yeah. Not the first time this has actually happened with Sonic, believe it or not.
Yep.
Like, in the first time they did this, to show you how long ago it's been, that they actually went in and remade the games for the platform, was Sonic Jam. Um, and also worth noting, Sonic Jam was handled directly by Sonic Team. Now there's a whole story behind that because, okay, and a long story short, the prevailing thought about Sonic in Japan is, or what probably still is, compared to the rest of the world, Sonic Who.
Yeah.
Like,
Sonic is very much become a Western property.
yeah, well, he was directly aimed at Nintendo. And keep in mind, it was Sega's Western marketing that really pumped up the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
As you look at him and you can see why he got big in 1991. Granted, he hasn't stopped being Sega's most popular property, but Sega was a legit icon in the early 90s. Like,
Mm-hmm.
except in Japan, where Sega was much more well known, especially by the time of the Saturn, for their arcade releases. It wasn't Sonic that was their flagship property in Japan. It was Virtua Fighter.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, so this is indeed why Sonic Team got its name. They wanted to tell Japan who Sonic was, and they released this package. Now, the reason why we got Sonic Origin is, well, first of all, we had these, we had the Taxman ports on the mobile devices previously, and the big centerpiece is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because okay, if you don't know what the fuck's going on with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where have you been?
Yeah. Can I get in that rock with you, please?
Because it's like the music. It turned out Michael Jackson and his producer, I forget his name, did a bunch of work on the finished version, and that license only existed for so many number of years. Sega didn't really feel like paying the money to get that license back. Or the Michael Jackson estate, whatever the copyright problems around that music it's not gone away. And yes, Michael Jackson worked on the music. Fucking Yuji Naka confirmed this on Twitter not recently. He showed a picture of Michael Jackson's house. It's like, it doesn't really matter if Sega themselves aren't confirming it necessarily. We've gotten as much confirmation as we really need to know. And thus, we've got the prototype version soundtracks being used. Except, and we don't exactly know what went wrong with this. They're fucking awful.
It sounded like
they were allegedly redone, but they weren't redone very well.
Yeah, it looked like they used the high bass sound font for the Genesis.
God, and we haven't even talked about the volume mixing.
Oh no!
How the fuck did you fuck this up, Sega? Because like most music is too fucking quiet, except for the Sonic CD stuff, where it's too fucking loud.
Yeah. What's that, Sonny? I wanted to hear. Now my ears are bleeding.
I'm like, just like I said, it's a never-ending shit show with this. Like, and it's also the only way you can legally get Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic CD right now. The thing about Sonic CD is the Sega Genesis or Mini 2 is going to have the original version of Sonic CD on it. Not exactly sure what they're doing to get that on the Mini, because it's not out yet. So the people haven't been able to tinker around with what's going on there. But
insert
hopefully
joke about black magic here.
Well, with the Sega CD, actually, yes.
Yeah.
People go on about the Saturn being hard to emulate. The Sega CD is actually really fucking hard to emulate as well. That's why the Genesis collections, sure, we got those for fucking weeks. Even Master System games have been occasionally been re-released because they're all relatively easy to emulate. So, that's one of the big marketing things about this the Mini 2. It's got actual factual Sega CD games. And this is the first time we're seeing releases of some of these games ever. The Sega CD version of Sylphid, never been re-released before. Shining goddamn Force CD. This has never been re-released before.
That happened?
Not before the Mini 2. And for the Sega CD.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't know everything. They just announced the initial Western games.
And
I'm sure Sega Lord X. I'm sure Sega Lord X will have a video on that soon.
Or Tails channel, whichever one.
Yes. But I can't really recommend you going in on any version of the Sonic Origins collection, at least right now.
If it gets on a sale for like less than 20, sure, snap that shit up. But at full price, it's laughable.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is one of the new wave of $40 retro releases.
Yeah.
Granted, I understand where the price point is ostensibly coming from. They actually put a lot of work into this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just, if they were just selling, another batch of ROMs that might not even necessarily work right, $40, fuck no.
Or like if they were selling the PAL versions.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Sony.
Or they don't have the excuse of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection, where or the Disney, any Disney collection. Granted, some of those aren't all that expensive. The point is, those are all licensed properties.
Yep.
Like, you're gonna see more, like on that. Sonic doesn't have that problem because they didn't go in on that.
Oh
So,
god, I'm imagining a future that happened, and it scares me.
well, it's like that would be the future where we got the actual Ice Cap Zone music back.
Fair. Which
Granted, once again, this is the reason why to keep an eye on the PC release. See where that is, because it's already been patched back in. By the way.
Ice Cap's back. Most of the classic music is back. I remember hearing there was one song that they were having trouble patching for some reason, but they might have fixed that by now.
That being said, this game is so borked that the fan community's kind of given up on general patching.
Yeah.
Which, I linked to that today in the Discord.
I mean, granted, a lot of that is just de novo being de novo.
Yeah. Yeah, this game, but honestly, this is the shit that the fan community shouldn't have to be doing.
Oh yeah, God no. The Sega fan community is resourceful as fuck, but at the same time, this isn't a Bethesda game.
Plus, doesn't that usually get patched out eventually anyway?
What?
Yes, it does.
De novo?
It does.
Yes.
But it's like any game that has to be extensively fan patched to be playable. Granted, this has been less of a thing these days, but going back to the early 2000s, a lot of fucking releases come to mind.
Fuck, I had to literally use a crack to play Fallout 3 that I paid for legitimately.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not stopping being a problem. Assassin's Creed Liberation HD.
Yep.
But that perhaps a rant for another time.
Mm-hmm.
We might talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Unless something urgent happens, which has happened before. Yeah. So, we could go on. We could actually go on for a long time.
Yeah, I'm holding back here because, Sega, you fucked up.
Yeah, but I think we've gotten the point across that they messed up on this package when you really shouldn't have messed up on this package.
Indeed.
Especially if you're planning on using it as they are as an excuse to not have previous versions available.
Yeah.
I mean, the 16:9 is nice. Don't get me wrong. And at least if you're playing on the Switch, the little bit of lower resolution doesn't matter because it's the Switch.
Right.
But, they definitely could have fixed some back-end stuff with this.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they've done that with Sonic Origins Ultimate Edition. Nobody talked.
You mean Teller's Ultimate Edition?
Whatever.
I still need to finish that. Good lord. Hopefully the frame rate isn't as terrible on Switch, but that's a digression.
I mean, I know they fixed some of that on Switch.
Yeah.
But, always a bit of a gamble. Anyway, so yeah, that'll do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. The week ahead. So, on Friday, July 15th, we are looking to be having some combination of the people that we had on Ben and Archer of TA Publishing to talk about the House of the Dead again. I'm like, not my choice. I'll be upfront about that because we did an interview about the House of the Dead when it was in when they were working on it. But I suppose we can now talk about that in hindsight, in the past. And also, the game is not only out on the Nintendo Switch, it is out on the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC platforms. PC Steam. I think it is on GOG now. So the reason we're talking about the House of the Dead is they cannot talk about Front Mission. This is the game. This is the remake series I wanted to talk about, but if you can't talk about it, you can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, I'm a bit iffy on this since like one of the parties is supposed to contact me on Discord, hasn't yet, but we still got a few days. I'll definitely be a bit more forceful on Friday. But anyway, we have a new episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents happening after this. Granted, that's probably going to turn into a last news desk on the left since the guest bailed on us. Or it's a whole thing. Anyway, coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Similaris, Dice Kingdom, Asprina the Red Witch, Kaporth, and Martian Law. So, until about 15 minutes from now, Friday, whenever, I shall wish you good gaming.